So I'm curious, let's bring it back. Let's bring it way back. Like, what's the first lesson, the earliest lesson you can remember that you learned that still you keep with today, that still benefits you today?
As I was walking down the hallway here to come do the podcast this morning, I got to practice it again. And it's being tactful in the way that you approach people. I mean, it could be your kids, your wife, and then, very important for growing a business is to be able to talk to people in a conducive way for growth and development and progress.
Put it this way, if you can get your kids to do something and still smile and say, "Daddy, I love you," then that's a win. You can get anybody to do anything. So if you're not going totally kicking and screaming, if you can at least just limit those opportunities, right?
And that was something I struggled with in the beginning, just because of my upbringing, my leadership examples with my dad and previous mentors and bosses and managers. But it was something that I felt early on that I needed to make some adjustments on. I didn't like the way I was making people feel. And I wanted to be able to feel good about the message and the way that I conveyed these things, all the projects we were trying to do.
Just how do you calibrate that? How do you know if your messages are being received? Because that kind of ties into culture, where I feel like your culture and your company is outstanding, but yet it's very hard as a leader. Nobody's going to sit there and tell you, totally straight. You got to kind of have a grain of salt with what everybody is saying. So how do you calibrate that you are developing that skill? And what was the kind of the moment where you're like, no, I got it. This is how it is. Was it just the pure confidence that you're not questioning what you're doing and kind of, imposing that idea? Or was it a true moment where you're like, no, this is how I talk to people?
You know what? It's still a constant work in progress. I don't claim to have it figured out. I've definitely gotten a lot better. And I just kind of pay attention to how people respond, their facial expressions, how they take that information and run with it. It all is determined with how you convey that message and their perception versus your intent, because you may have the best intentions on the planet, but if they perceive that as you coming down on them and that they're not doing a very good job and you didn't convey it in a way that you're giving them a little bit of recognition for all the great work that they've done, but there's just a couple of these things that we still got some work to do, and let's do this together. You can defeat the purpose if you're not approaching it the right way.
Yeah, no doubt. Delivering that message is one of the hardest things, because we want things done quickly and now. But at the end of the day, if somebody's hearing that message for the very first time, we gotta have a little bit of patience, and we gotta own that moment that, hey, we should have coached that or developed that or asked for that, in a more timely, more organized fashion. That's kind of my takeaway. That was always my kind of hold back in the whole thing. Was I wanted things done now quickly, and I would interrupt people with what they were doing on their day to day and expect something to be dropped. And I kind of had to force myself to organize that. Not everybody thinks the way that I do.
Right.
So that's cool. It sounds like there's a similarity there. What's the difference between the man that started JKR Windows in the beginning and you now? What's the biggest evolution?
I think it's probably that same thing. The thing that I've put the most effort, the most time and attention to, and been the most intentional about is developing myself as a leader and a communicator, so I can inspire and drive and, be able to take somebody that has some natural abilities, just quite hasn't tapped into them yet, and build some belief and some confidence in them to do something great. And we've taken a lot of average people and just encouraged them to do amazing things and built an incredible team here.
Yeah, you can really tell that. You can feel it in the pictures, and the reviews and everything that you're doing that's out there. Like, you can kind of feel that energy that you've instilled with the company. It's really cool to see. It's one of those intangibles that it's hard to put a KPI. It's hard to put something on that. And you just got to really look at growth and customer feedback. And, at the end of the day, if your employees are happy, if they're talking to you, if there's energy in the office, that's the biggest indicator for me.